I have a simple question. Will snakes be in heaven? Or more accurately, on the new earth? The very thought probably horrifies many people. Of course snakes won't be there. The idea is absurd. Or is it? Turns out we have clear and unambiguous inspiration telling us that snakes will be there. Surprised? And the sucking child shall play on the hole of the asp. Isaiah 11, verse 8. This is part of a description of the perfect world to come, when all animals and humans will be living together in harmony and peace. Isaiah repeats this with some variations later in his writings. The wolf and the lamb shall feed together, and the lion shall eat straw like the bullock, and dust shall be the serpent's meat. They shall not hurt nor destroy in all my holy mountain, saith the Lord. Isaiah 65, verse 25. This is focused mainly on the fact that all predators will become vegetarian again, as they were in the Garden of Eden. But my point here is that it describes snakes as being in the perfect world, included with the other recreated predators. So there we have it, a simple and clear proof that snakes will be in the new earth. I know many people that will be thrilled that this is true. Some people find snakes so beautiful and interesting that a world without them would not be perfect. But I know other people that will be so upset about this that perhaps they don't want to go to a place that has snakes. Why this deep-seated hatred and fear of snakes? Snakes were created in the garden along with all other animals. According to Genesis 3, verse 1, "Now the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field which the Lord God had made." The word translated by the King James Version as subtle is actually better translated prudent. Snakes originally were given wings and were among the most beautiful animals created. In Patriarchs and Prophets, Ellen White describes the snakes. The serpent was then one of the wisest and most beautiful creatures on the earth. It had wings, and while flying through the air presented an appearance of dazzling brightness, having the color and brilliancy of burnished gold. Patriarchs and Prophets, page 53. Because of the beauty and fascination of the snake, Satan chose it as his vessel to tempt Eve. He possessed it and spoke through it, and succeeded. Adam and Eve ate the forbidden fruit and fell, and the earth was cursed. Many people today think that God cursed the snake due to some complicity on the snake's part with Satan, and therefore we should hate them too. But this is not what really happened. The snake was just an innocent animal. It was taken by force and had no awareness of Satan's plans. In order to accomplish his work unperceived, Satan chose to employ as his medium the serpent, a disguise well adapted for his purpose of deception. Patriarchs and Prophets, page 53. Note that Satan chose the snake. The snake didn't choose Satan. It is true that God made snakes crawl on their bellies, but this was only a figurative curse that was used to symbolize the results of sin. There are actually many species of lizard that also have no legs, such as the glass lizards, sand skinks, and worm lizards. There is also an entire order of amphibians that have no legs as well. No one has ever suggested that these animals are cursed. Were they hanging out in the same place in the garden when the serpent got cursed and accidentally lost their limbs as well? Did God's thunderbolt against the snake miss and do collateral damage to those other innocent animals? Of course not. God designed many different forms of life, and being legless is one of them. Changing snakes to be crawlers rather than walkers or flyers is simply a rearrangement of designs and not actually a curse. Actually, God redesigned snakes to become one of the great movement specialists. They can crawl on virtually any surface, sometimes at great speed. Many can climb trees, swim, burrow, and some can even glide through forests. The curse of snakes is just a symbol to give us an object lesson about the results of sin. But there are women who tell me that they are afraid of snakes because God put enmity between snakes and women, and there is nothing they can do about it. But that is not what Scripture says. And I will put enmity between thee and the woman, and between thy seed and her seed. It shall bruise thy head, and thou shalt bruise his heel. As can be seen from the second half of this verse, this is talking about Satan. Satan has his head bruised, and he bruises Christ's heel. That means the first half says that God puts enmity between Satan and the woman, not the snake and the woman. I know plenty of women, including my wife Delise, who happen to love snakes and have no fear of them. No one is born with a fear of snakes, as scientific studies have conclusively proven. The fear of snakes is totally cultural and found in both men and women. Fear of snakes is taught to children, not innate. But snakes are dangerous, aren't they? Some species are very dangerous, it is true. The most dangerous ones are found mostly in Africa and Asia, and they kill many people. Those species have to be dealt with as any dangerous species of animal. Self-defense is a valid principle of the Bible. But elsewhere, the danger is much less, and in some places, non-existent. Despite claims to the contrary, American snakes are some of the least dangerous snakes in the world. People demonize rattlesnakes and copperheads, but actually deaths from them are shockingly small. All combined, deaths from snakebite in North America average about 5 per year. So let's break this down. How does this danger relate to others that threaten all of us with mortal peril? 5 deaths from snakebite, all species of venomous snakes combined, per year. What other death rates are higher? Well, there are an average of 13 deaths per year from vending machines. I assume this is from them falling and crushing hungry people trying to access their goods, or maybe from electrocution. Whatever. That's over double the damage that snakes do. But I haven't heard about any campaign to round up and exterminate vending machines. What else? 15 people die per year from falling icicles. Ouch. Lethal dropping daggers of death. 3 times the death rate of snakebite. But it gets worse. 20 people per year die from one of the truly horrific animals of our time. Cows. Yes, you heard right. Cows. When they are placidly looking at you, are they planning mayhem? I think we should eliminate all cows from America from this point forward to prevent a loss of human life that is 4 times greater than from snakes. To close this examination of havoc and destruction, we will now look at a cause of death nearly 5 times greater than from snakebite, and that is the 24 humans, on average, that die per year from champagne corks. Oh, the humanity! Won't someone think of the children? Alert your neighbors, assemble a posse, and let's take our pitchforks and torches to every store and cellar that contains these lethal weapons of doom. Our survival is at stake thanks to the carelessness and greed of the social drunks among us. I'm being ridiculous on purpose to point out the foolishness of hating and killing snakes in a misguided attempt to protect ourselves. Snakes are vitally important to the ecosystem, and the few species that actually pose a danger are not as dangerous as wild stories and propaganda have led us to believe. In fact, they save far more lives than they take, as they eat uncountable numbers of rodents. Without them doing so, rodents would eat our food, spread disease, and cause us even more problems than they do now. Snakes are our allies, made as such by God and part of His balanced plan. One last surprising statistic. Australia is famous for its dangerous snakes, since over half the species there are from the cobra family. Their venom is highly dangerous, and a bite from them usually will lead to death. So how many deaths would you expect from this land of lethal threats? Dozens? Hundreds? Turns out, down under averages about 2 human deaths from snakebite per year. 2. Need I say more? The extremely lethal tiger snake I found in Victoria is representative of these many Australian snakes. She sat peacefully in the sun as we watched her, and eventually crawled calmly away. She was no threat to me, and I was no threat to her. That's the way it can work most of the time if everyone stays calm. One objection I hear way too often is that the Bible uses snakes to represent Satan, and therefore snakes are evil too. If we're going to play that game, then goats are also evil, as they are always used the same way. Lions are also a regular symbol of Satan, but then again, lions also represent Christ as well. So what do we do with that? Turns out snakes are in the same boat as lions, as they have been used to represent both Satan and Christ. Don't remember that? Desire of Ages. When the people of Israel were dying from the sting of the fiery serpents, God directed Moses to make a serpent of brass and place it on high in the midst of the congregation. Then the word was sounded throughout the encampment that all who would look upon the serpent should live. The people well knew that in itself the serpent had no power to help them. It was a symbol of Christ. Desire of Ages, page 174. Even after I point out these facts to those who don't like snakes, the final defense raised is that they are just too afraid of snakes. They may not have been born with the fear of snakes, but they have it now, and it's not going to change. All I have to say to that is that fear is not from God. It is from Satan. No matter what we fear, God can overcome it. Let's take a look in 1 John, chapter 4, verse 18. There is no fear in love, but perfect love casteth out fear, because fear hath torment. He that feareth is not made perfect in love. Which is more important to hang on to, a fear generated by the archenemy, or the love that God has ready to give us to replace any fear we have? You can't have both, so pick which you prefer to keep. Snakes are just an animal, like all others. They want nothing to do with humans, but will defend themselves if we bother them. Don't bother them. And more importantly, don't invest them with evil that they don't deserve. By far the majority of snake species aren't even venomous. Let me repeat that. The vast majority of snakes have absolutely no venom, and most venomous snakes are not at all aggressive. There are only a very few that are able and willing to inject venom into us. Let us focus our attention on threats that are real, such as car crashes, smoking, and hamburgers. A last quotation should put all of this in perspective, again from the Desire of Ages. It was He, Christ, that filled the earth with beauty, and the air with song. And upon all things in earth and air and sky, He wrote the message of the Father's love. Now sin has marred God's perfect work, yet that handwriting remains. Even now all created things declare the glory of His excellence. There is nothing, save the selfish heart of man that lives unto itself. No bird that cleaves the air, no animal that moves upon the ground, but ministers to some other life. Desire of Ages, page 20. No animal that moves upon the ground, but ministers to some other life, includes snakes. This is the testimony of inspiration. We can be glad that snakes will be in the new earth, since they are a wonderful and unusual facet of creation. Will they have wings again? Who knows? I'm just happy that they will be part of the celebration.